state of peace where they don't come to you so, how do you say, quickly and prolifically as in a state of agitation. I don't know. That's my own experience.
Wow. I didn't expect that question. And it's very multi-layered, so I'll try to be clear. Well, I painted well before I knew any of this stuff about myself. So I always was very visual with paint, with color, and my parents had books around the house, art books, so it's been I've always been a painter and an artist, so it just made sense to translate those visual experiences into paint, and it took me a very long number of years before I was willing to really explore what I had seen. So it's becoming very much easier now to just say, oh, that's the light, or because that is what you see. You see a lot of light. And painters have always been interested in light. Light is one of the, for me, I mean, it may not be now that painting is about light. Maybe it's more about something graphic, and all the work in here, of course, is about light. Paint uses light the way photography uses light, the way video uses light. So it's a translation because I'm here now, and it's something I can do with what I see. So I hope I kind of answered your question. Yes. Okay, so does anyone else want to ask anything?
I actually kind of want to ricochet that question back to Giustina now. Part of what I'm getting from what you said almost goes back to the cliche, which of course has a grain of truth, which is sometimes when an artist is agitated, more images come, or more it stimulates creativity, and we sort of hate to be on board with that kind of assumption. You know, it's great for, cheesy movies, but we don't really want that to be part of reality in life. But since you were saying that you were very inspired by seeing this disturbing, kind of expression about self-image, I'm just wondering how you respond to that. Do you feel that that was a real impetus towards creativity?
Well, that particular moment was for me. I mean, that was a moment when I was deciding that I wanted to be a painter and what I wanted to paint. But certainly, all of the experiences that I've had and all of these people that I've come in contact with, these are kind of all I consider to be self-portraits of myself, because they everybody I paint says something about me, and I guess that's pretty much it. It's they're
we're all the same.
I guess we are all the same, yeah. They are all the same.
Does everybody feel the same way, that in some way their portraits of other people are also portraits of themselves at the same time?
Yeah, I think that, yeah. Did you want to? Well, it is for me.
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. I don't know. For me, a painting is acceptable when I have a lot of interaction with it. I draw a lot of my drawing and painting. It's not a love story with the painting. It's really trying to find what's there as a painting, and so it's like peeling an onion. You have to really try to find what's behind the surface, what's behind this person, or what's behind what you want to paint.
But do you have to cry?
Oh, I missed that.
If it's a sad painting, maybe. But I usually don't have to cry about it. But I have to search the painting. I have to search the painting. I don't think it's always a perception of myself. It could be a perception of others.
It has to be something about the person. I mean, it really has to be something about the person that's so interesting that you want to paint it, you know. Something about their face or something that they exude or something about their intellect. There has to be something that you're trying to capture as a portrait, that you want to make a portrait out of.
I think if you can really drop the self, then I accept the painting. I try to don't have myself in it. Mm-hmm. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. So.
Are you in your portrait? Do you? How do you approach your subjects? And do you feel an affinity with the people that you paint?
I feel like I'm in there whether I'm conscious of it or not. You know, you just sort of naturally injected in there, and usually it's a part of myself that doesn't come out in my day-to-day interactions with people. It's usually a little bit of the inner life, and so sometimes when I see a lot of my paintings out that are done in this manner, there's something sort of consistent in the expression, and it's usually not the happiest, most public part that people project in terms of navigating day-to-day life.
I wanted to ask about how the sitters respond to the paintings, and I assume that most of you are not out to flatter the sitter.
The person was asking how the sitter responds, because the assumption in the question was that we weren't out to flatter. And I'll give a very brief answer for my own work, and that is if I'm doing something that's called a portrait, like if someone is going to sit for me for a portrait, I try to prepare them, because everybody's got an image in their mind, and look at any photograph of yourself and most people feel like, is that really me? So I find that if it's not called portrait, if it doesn't have that label, people are pretty excited about seeing it because they see the drama almost objectively, as if it's a story. But if it's called a portrait, they're looking more for an inner self or their own vision of themselves. So psychologically, to do that, you have to juggle a little bit, because people are going to be disappointed in a way that they're not if you don't call it. And I use the word disappointed, which is a negative word, but it's just absolutely impossible to fulfill someone's expectations. And they may learn to love something later on, but I would say if it's called a portrait initially, you're going to have a gap in response to what you might hope for as an artist. So I don't know whether other people have experienced something similar. Does anybody else want to answer the same question?
I'll answer it. I mean, for me, a lot of the people that I work with, well, for instance, Quentin Crisp, I did several portraits of him, and after he saw the work, he said, "Oh, it's dreadful," because he had been painted so many times and drawn so many times, he didn't really care. I had another experience with a woman that I did a large painting, kind of a nude, and she was wrapped in the American flag. And after she saw the work, I think she dropped 20 or 30 pounds and dyed her hair blonde. It's true, and she was a photographer that used to work with me. I work mostly from photographs, so I photograph people, and sometimes, and because I work with strangers, I may not go back to that particular work, or I photograph and sketch them, and I may not go back to that particular work or do a painting of that maybe for 5 or 6 years. So a lot of times I lose contact with the person. So and no, generally people don't like the portraits that I do of them, because people are very flattered when you say to them, "Oh, I want to paint. I'd love to paint a portrait of you," and that's very flattering. But generally, people don't like the work that I do, because I'm not there to flatter. I'm there to try to capture something else in my work. So
I'll answer. I would say generally people like them a lot, but a lot of times they say, "That doesn't look like me." So I laugh, and sometimes I put a face in that looks like them. So then they say, wow, I like that a lot, that looks like me.